Welcome to Aging Untold. Let's talk Social Security. Many of us are counting on it. In fact, in 2025, nearly 69 million Americans received benefits each month. And with all the rules and options, it can be tough to know when the right time is to apply. Amy, what's the first thing we should consider before applying for Social Security?
I think the first thing I'm not going to say is go to Social Security and find out how much you're making. I think the first thing you do is look at what you're spending. How much are you spending every month, and work up a budget, and then go to SSA.gov and look at how much you're going to be bringing in. What Social Security is, it's the federal Social Security retirement income program. Retirement, disability, survivor benefits, dependent benefits. Primarily today we're talking about retirement benefits. You can get money as early as 62 and as late as 70. The longer you wait, the more money you make. But making sure that that income and your expenses, and looking at when you are not working anymore, or working less, can you live within your means?
Yeah, I think a lot of people make their decision based on fear and what they hear, all this conjecture of it's not going to be there, and so they go ahead and they try and grab as much as they can early. And if you've got longevity, maybe, and you're still wanting to work, maybe waiting longer to apply is better, because you will get more monthly. But if you're in ill health and you're already not looking to work, apply earlier, but do it based on your own needs, not based on what you're hearing in the news or what you're hearing other people say.
So, but should we really be depending on Social Security as our retirement?
No.
I mean, shouldn't it just be one of the working parts to it?
That's
and I
right.
think people have the misunderstanding. They think, oh, I'm just going to live off my Social Security.
You're not going to live very well if you're living on just your Social Security. So, yeah.
I think it has to come to education. We have to sit down and talk about these are all the different tools that you have at your expenditure at the time of retirement.
Right.
And that's just one of them.
Well, and you can do that with younger people, but the truth is that many people are living on their Social Security.
That's right.
And they might be really struggling. I like what you said about fear, because not only is it confusing, but there's so much fear. And, you know, bad news sells. And so a lot of times people are really plugged into the bad news, and it can be just hype, and it's the way the sausage is getting made, you know, possibly in politics. And people can get really fearful.
And the best antidote for fear is getting into reality. So you go on SSA.gov and you set up an account, no matter how old you are. You're 19, 20, 50, doesn't matter.
That's right.
Set it up right away and look at, do you have the 40 required work quarters? And then how much are you going to pull? And then get somebody that's really good at math. Get an accountant or a financial advisor, somebody to help you run the numbers to see what, like we were saying.
Right.
Can I do better? Some of the financial people say, yeah, I draw it early and invest it. I don't know what you should do, but I know what we're doing, and that's what I think the important thing is.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's good to understand what was Social Security designed for to start with, and it was to keep our aged community from being completely impoverished. It wasn't to be your end-all be-all, but for those that had limited amounts, it was to prevent that impoverished. Back in the day when our aged community actually lived in what was called the poor folks' homes, that existed then, and so it was to keep that from happening. It wasn't to be the only thing that you would have.
Yeah, I'm thinking about you, Ray, with your parents, and I don't know if you've done this or not, but I'd want you to sit down with them and go onto their online account with them and know their password and look at their information, because once they kind of lose their cognitive ability and you want to run interference, as you will, like with Social Security, you'll have a hard time doing it without going through an extra step of becoming their representative payee.
Right, and you have to do that. And then remember, if you're widowed or widower, you could probably draw off of your spouse as well. So making sure you do those kind of things. If you've been divorced a number of times, but each marriage lasted 10 years, you can pick whichever one had the highest income. So there are ways to pull your amounts that you draw monthly up.
I think at the end of the day, it becomes about education, planning, and empowering, so that you know the right decisions to make.
Right. So there's less fear, less anxiety. You do know reality so that you know what to do next. And altogether, that's going to make aging feel steadier versus scarier.
Yeah, and if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, well, I was married for over 10 years and I don't want him to know that I'm going to draw on his, they won't know.
He won't know.
He won't know.
He doesn't
So if you're
get to,
sitting
he
out
doesn't get
there-
the memo. Or she doesn't
Or
get the
she
memo.
doesn't get the memo.
So,
Yeah.
and that's really good to know. Unfortunately, Social Security was sold to many, many people in our age community now as their retirement plan. And so that's what a lot of people banked on, and that's why we see a lot of people that are really struggling with only having that. Our younger people are planning a little bit better now, and they're trying to put away for that rainy day because they're fearful that it won't even exist. The program will be
Well,
gone.
we hope so, because there's a lot of retirees that have savings now, and they say that younger boomers and Gen X, not as much. So I think it's different for everybody, but at least we're talking about this more. It's really important.